She stood in front of me that night, her eyes cold and distant, and whispered words that felt like a knife plunging straight into my chest. "I want an open marriage." And in that instant, the world I thought I knew shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces, because her voice carried no hesitation, no shame, only a quiet confidence that I would never forgive, and I realized then that this wasn't a request. It was a confession she had been rehearsing in secret. Every glance, every laugh at my expense, every late-night message building up to this moment. I could feel my heart pounding, my mind racing through the countless nights she had claimed she was busy with work, while her phone lay hidden, her lips curling into smiles at conversations I wasn't part of. And yet, the storm inside me didn't erupt immediately, because I had learned long ago that patience is sharper than rage, so I walked slowly to the door, my steps deliberate, my silence heavier than any words, and I opened it. For her, letting the cool night air brush past her as if inviting her into a world she had never truly seen before, a world where every lie, every secret, every hidden betrayal she had buried so carefully would rise up to confront her. She paused, confusion flickering across her face, expecting me to beg, to fight, to crumble like the man she always assumed I was. But instead, I watched her with an intensity that made her shiver, for the first time seeing her vulnerability, the crack in her perfect facade that no makeup, no charm, could hide. And when she stepped outside, her phone buzzed in her hand, the name flashing that I had memorized from the hundreds of messages I had saved secretly, each one a thread of the tapestry of deception she had spun around us, and I didn't speak, because silence has a power words often lack, and she faltered, realizing too late that I had been seeing everything, tracking everything, letting her think she was invisible while her betrayal was being catalogued in cold, meticulous detail. She stammered, "It's nothing, just a friend." But her voice quivered, and I felt a bitter mix of sorrow and vindication, knowing that this woman, who once promised love and devotion, had walked a path lined with lies, and now she was facing the shadows of her own making, her eyes darting as if seeking escape, as if the night could swallow her whole and erase the consequences. But the universe has a way of making the guilty confront themselves. And I had orchestrated it all, letting her step into her reckoning with no warning, no plea, because the first bite of reality must be the sharpest. I stepped back into the house, letting the door stand open, a threshold between truth and illusion, and I heard her heartbeat accelerate, heard the tremor in her breath as panic replaced the arrogance she wore like a shield, and the first messages began arriving on my phone. Automatic alerts I had set up to deliver her secrets to those who needed to know. The husband of the man she had been seeing, her family, her closest friends, each notification a nail in the coffin of the life she had crafted from deception. And outside, she was still standing, frozen, phone in hand, unable to hide the guilt that now radiated from her like heat from a furnace, her words faltering as she whispered, "Please." I didn't mean it, I was confused. But I knew better. I had seen the patterns, the dates, the time she had stolen from me, the quiet betrayals that had chipped away at the foundation of our love, and the weight of truth pressed down on her shoulders as I simply said, "You wanted freedom, here it is." And the irony struck her first as disbelief, then terror, then the beginnings of despair, and she fell to her knees, the cold night beneath her unforgiving, her hands clutching at nothing, searching for the stability she had destroyed, and I watched, heart-torn, every beat a mixture of sorrow and justice, knowing that love cannot survive in a garden poisoned by lies, and that night stretched endlessly, each second amplifying the emotional collapse she had engineered herself, as I stood inside, phone in hand, watching her world unravel through notifications, seeing friends and family confront truths she had tried to hide, seeing the panic bloom in her eyes, the realization that the life she thought she controlled had slipped through her fingers like sand, and she begged, crawling toward the door, sobs racking her body, "Please don't leave me, I'll fix it, I'll do anything." And I could feel the faint stirrings of the man I once was, the one who would have forgiven, pleaded, begged for her to stay, but that man was gone, replaced by someone who understood that some betrayals are so deep that mercy is a luxury the heart cannot afford. So I took a step back, closed the door slowly, deliberately, letting the finality sink into her bones, and she pressed herself against the wood, her face wet with tears, silent now except for the ragged gasps of her own regret, and in that silence, she finally understood what she had invited into her life the moment she demanded an open marriage, that freedom does not absolve guilt, that lies cannot stand against truth, and that the love she had taken for granted had been both patient and vigilant, cataloging every betrayal, until the hour of reckoning arrived, and the weight of it crushed her entirely, leaving her shattered, trembling, alone, facing the ruins of everything she thought she owned. And I realized then, as the cool night pressed against the walls of my home, as the distant city lights glimmered coldly beyond the darkness, that the most painful justice is watching someone confront their own deeds, That the hardest heartbreak is seeing the person you loved more than life itself crumble beneath the weight of their own choices. And yet there was a grim satisfaction, a silent victory that comes not from revenge but from letting the truth do its work. And as she slid to the ground, trembling, whispering apologies that no one could hear but herself, the door closed completely, sealing her fate, leaving me inside, breathing slowly, letting the storm settle, letting the night claim its victory over deception. And as the city continued indifferent outside, I sat alone, thinking of the woman she once was, the love she once claimed, and the reality she had created. And I knew that the darkest night of her life had arrived, uninvited, unstoppable, and unrelenting, and that she would never step into my house again without facing the ruin she had built herself, because in the end, some betrayals are too deep, some lies too long, and some hearts too wounded to ever return to the light. And the night stretched on endless, and she realized fully, utterly, that the freedom she demanded had come at the cost of her entire world. And I, standing inside, knew that sometimes silence and patience speak louder than words. Sometimes closure is found not in confrontation but in letting the consequences unfold naturally. And sometimes, the most haunting revenge is simply truth delivered at the perfect moment. And she sobbed quietly against the door, every tear a testament to the pain she had sown, every gasp a reminder that life has a way of balancing itself when hearts are broken and lies are exposed. And in that moment, I understood the power of patience, of watching, of letting someone confront their own betrayal in real time. And I felt the cold, bittersweet satisfaction of knowing that the darkest night of her life was not a punishment for me but a mirror of everything she had done, reflecting her choices in the harshest, most unforgiving light. And as she finally sank to the ground, exhausted, trembling, defeated, I closed my eyes for a moment, breathed deeply, and whispered to the empty room that some loves are not meant to endure, some hearts are not meant to forgive, and some betrayals are simply too vast to survive. And the door remained closed, the night quiet, and the woman who once stood before me demanding freedom now lay broken in the cold, staring at a world she had destroyed herself.